Welcome to the F1 Debate Show.
McLaren tried to iron out their problems from Australia.
We talk about the new engine regulations for 2021.
After last year with Danny Kvyat and Max Verstappen, we all hoped for a trade in places. And basically, myself and Jordan thought that it would be Jenson Button and Fernando Alonso. Well, anyway, we know now that that is false, because Fernando Alonso has basically come out, all guns blazing almost, and said that the allegations that he might leave during the season are not going to happen. He is going to see McLaren in 2018 through to the end. So obviously, you've got Fernando, you've got Stoffel, and the Honda engine will see it through till the end of the season. And obviously, they might part ways or whatever, but they're going to be here for 1 year. So if you're a Fernando fan, you'll see him a lot more on the screens, a lot more than you probably thought. Anyway, McLaren, now we've talked about them a good few episodes now, probably since we came back. Every single episode has had McLaren in it and their woes of what happened. We had the woes of winter testing and preview in Australia and after Australia, preview in China. Basically, it's never getting better for them anyway, but it's, there might be a bit of light on the horizon for the Woking-based team, because basically now McLaren they've fixed all of the problems that they said that they had in Australia. Obviously, the biggest one was Fernando Alonso's steering problems. He was basically saying that the car was just pulling side to side like a bad go-kart, really. They've tried to fix them. Also, the downforce as well. Basically, they've brought in this new concept called the T-Wing. Now, we've all seen T-Wings before. Obviously, Red Bull had them, had them. They've been developed by teams, have been brought to races throughout the years. Anyway, with this new era of the shark fins and maybe the less downforce, McLaren have now brought in the T-Wing for China. The big teams that used it in Australia were Mercedes and Ferrari. Obviously, Ferrari, Sebastian Vettel won the race, and Mercedes a double podium. So the only team on the podium, with the only two-driver team on the podium, so obviously it must have worked for them. Other teams like Haas used it in the race down under as well. Anyway, so McLaren have brought that in, copying off the crowd, hoping that it'll make their car better. It'll bring in more downforce. It's what they need. Because as we know, Shanghai, it's a very fast circuit. It has got corners. Obviously, it's not a NASCAR ring, so it might help. It probably will help going through the corners. That is obviously a big worry as well this year. You've got the shark fin and you've got the very low down wings. And again, we've said this on camera before, that downforce might be a problem in terms of the airflow. But anyway, the T-Wing is supposed to help that. It was seen on the car, the MCL32, when it was in the garage on Thursday, when obviously they were unboxing ready for the second race of the season. Fernando Alonso has been testing it in Friday practice and Saturday qualifying, and both himself and Stoffel will use it in the race tomorrow. And it's going to be great to see that. It's great to see that the fight is still alive, that everyone's still pushing and making sure that McLaren can be a team back to the front again. But, well, again, we'll have to see, what's going to happen at the end of that. It's just great that they're trying to get more downforce and push the car in the right direction. As I say, they've said that they've fixed all the problems from Australia, and basically it's another preview for McLaren really, but it's another cross your fingers and just what can they do at the second race of the season. We're always like that. I don't think there's ever been a time when we just have complete faith in the team. Anyway, Jordan, obviously massive McLaren fan, said all the time, you're wearing the new stuff.
I am, yes, mate, it's debut
today. So I mean, McLaren, this new T-Wing, do you think that's going to solve at least some of the problems, and they're not going to have what we thought was probably a 1 or a 2 reliabilities in this weekend?
Well, I hope it does in a way, because obviously with Mercedes and Ferrari, it's quite controversial. It's quite a controversial subject, isn't it? This T-Wing, because nobody really likes the look of it. However, it does actually improve, as Lyle said, with downforce. When Mercedes launched their car, they launched theirs without the so-called shark fin. Then obviously when pre-season testing came about, they added it, and then also added the T-Wing. And then Hamilton said that it did make one hell of a difference. You can actually see it in the lap times. I don't think it's going to actually benefit McLaren that much, because the Mercedes engine compared to the Honda engine, it's a massive difference. Obviously, you've got to try and deal with that long, big 1.2 kilometer straight, and McLaren in a straight line, it's just, let's not even think about it. Let's not even talk about it. So McLaren do need to actually have the cornering speed needs to be key to try and get away from the likes of the Sauber and the Renault and the Haas or whoever were battling that weekend. I mean, if you haven't actually seen the design of our version of the tailwing, it's not like Mercedes and Ferraris. It's a very like oval sort of shape. It looks very, very weird. However, it could be quite beneficial in a way. But it looks like Ferrari side pods, because they have a bit of a radical design to them. So as does our T-wing. So hopefully it works. Hopefully we can see a bit of an advantage. However, I don't think it is going to solve the problems that much. I don't think we're going to see it blatantly in daylight. I mean, Stoffel might go, okay, I can feel it that it works in a way, but us as fans might go, nah, it's made no difference whatsoever. Yes, McLaren are ambitious. They do need everything to throw everything they can at this car to try and make it work, for not only for this season, but for future seasons, to try and get McLaren back to where they are, try and get rid of all their woes. And in terms of aerodynamics as well, I mean, you've seen the look of the McLaren this season, despite the weird orange-black livery. You know, you've seen the front wing with all the little slots and everything going up the front nose cone, again for airflow and everything, trying to get as much air as they can to the rear wing. Obviously, with the shark fin, that it is quite difficult to do that. But then you've also seen in the back, obviously at the back of the rear wing, you've got them 3 slots as well, again for airflow. So again, McLaren are quite ambitious on that side of things. So hopefully that T-wing can sort of add to that and maybe make the car a bit more smoother, a bit more cleaner. And hopefully try and give Stoffel and Fernando more control over that car, because it's all over the place right now, not only for engine wise, just for aerodynamics as well. So let's see if this car can actually control itself. Basically, come on guys, we need a controlling car, don't we? Well, not only for this race, but for the rest of the season. So I mean, it is ambitious from McLaren, but I mean, I personally don't think that it's going to make a big difference. As like I said before, Stoffel might mention something about it, going, okay, it is a little bit better. But I mean, do you think it will make any difference, Lyle? Do you think McLaren are going to do well with this T-wing? Or
yeah, I think. Well, I mean, anything needs to go McLaren's way to help them. Of course, I was thinking it also might help overtaking, because obviously, as we know, Australia had very little overtaking. There was a massive gap of something like 40 odd laps. We said it in a statistic where there was just no overtaking whatsoever.
Start attack,
of course.
Yeah.
Gary Anderson on Autosport said that McLaren's T-wing is slightly different to the others that we've seen, like Williams, Ferrari, and Haas. That were running it in the Australian Grand Prix. It has a top element which creates more downforce in its own right, and a lower element which creates the turn and rate, which helps the airflow alignment with the rear wing. So basically, and again, as Jordan said, it's a more fatter. It's a very it's nice developed by the McLaren Technology Centre in Woking and their development team. So it does look really quite nice and odd, and I'm sure you will recognise it as well when it's out on the track. Basically,
won't miss it.
And the bottom part helps the airflow over the shark fin into the rear wing, and basically the top part pushes it down, a bit like flaps on an airplane. It helps the car like stick and things like that. But we're very technical. I've just realised that in the episode.
Yes, we are very technical into this episode.
But
my head hurts.
Yeah, it's very important, and obviously at the end of the day, but as I said though, and as everyone says, we've just got to cross our fingers and hope that McLaren can actually pull something good out of China, because obviously, at the moment, well, after the first race, they're not. But basically, one of the best things though about this first segment that we've done is that we know that Fernando is staying. So just quickly, Jordan, I mean, obviously, before, yes. I mean, we didn't tell, we weren't like making the rules and saying that Jenson was going to come back, but obviously, as you all know, Italy 2016 last year, he said that he might be back. And then we were thinking, well, hang on a minute, it might be to replace Fernando Alonso, either during the season or at the end when Fernando says that he's had enough of Formula One. So do you think it's good now that we know for a fact that well, two things. One, that Fernando is very ambitious towards McLaren. He has views basically that they're going to change, and very soon. And then also that he's going to stay, which just means that he's just going to give everything to the team. Are you happy to know that Fernando's just here to stay and ready to push?
Yes, I am happy, because I said in the last episode that I would prefer Fernando over Jenson. Obviously, not in a I'm not really disrespecting any Jenson Button fans. I think Jenson Button is a very good driver, but I would prefer Fernando, as I said in the last episode. I am happy that he's staying. As I said, Fernando is one of the best drivers in Formula One right now. He's one of the best ever, I would say, in terms of actual ability. And also as well during the winter, obviously he was linked with Mercedes when Nico Rosberg retired suddenly. So he was very much in the limelight to actually get that seat. And then he turned it down. And a lot of people were like, oh, he's very dedicated to McLaren. You know, are McLaren going to have a good season? And I was thinking, I don't think Mercedes will kind of. I don't think his terms would have probably agreed with Mercedes. So there might be something more to it than that. But other than that, you know, turning down Mercedes, it's a very good chance. However, this might be a little subject for another episode one day. But we're not going to talk about it now. I'm just going to give it a mention that apparently he's linked to Ferrari in 2018. Because obviously a certain probably Kimi Raikkonen might be leaving, so he is linked going back to Ferrari. So that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to mention about that.
Yep.
But yes, I am happy Fernando is staying, and hopefully that he can actually guide us into hopefully a very good hopefully a good new era with McLaren Honda. V12s, V10s, V8s. They were the glory days of Formula 1. The engines, the power. You know, how good was Formula 1 back then? But recently, it hasn't been that successful, has it? 2014, we saw the introduction of V6 engines, the quieter, the more economical engines, and literally nobody has liked them since they were introduced. You know, the drivers were complaining about the lack of power, the fans were happy about the lack of noise. You know, it certainly took a piece of Formula 1 away when they removed the V8s back in 2013. But some good news on the horizon, guys, because they are now officially in talks. In the past few days, the FIA has announced that they are looking to improve the engines for the 2021 season. Obviously, we are going to stick to V6s. However, they are going to be changed to a 1,200 hybrid engine. Now, how good is that going to be? Basically, FIA, well, I've been listening to the fans recently, you know, because obviously this season we've seen how the cars look, how aggressive the cars have looked. Obviously they've got Liberty Media in. They're now listening to the fans as well. Everything in Formula 1 right now is looking up. I mean, fair enough, the shock fins can be debatable, but to be fair, we have made a worse decision. I mean, remember the elimination qualifying, guys? I mean, that was bad, but that is now obviously history. So what does the future hold for the engines? Basically, the FIA has actually laid out a plan, and basically they've laid out 4 points of plans, and I'm going to read them out now. A desire to maintain F1 as the pinnacle of motorsport technology and as a laboratory for development technology that is relevant to road cars. Striving for future power for future power units to be powerful while becoming simpler and less costly to develop and produce. Now that is a key point right there, guys, because we've seen teams such as Caterham, Manor and HRT fall because of the lack of finances coming into the team. Now, we don't want to see that. We want to see teams come into Formula 1 and stay for a while. I mean, it has been a reoccurring thing since the turn of the millennium, hasn't it? We've seen loads of teams, Super Aguri, Spiker, as I said, Manor and teams like that, who've just came into the sport for a season or two and just left because of the finances. Now, obviously, since introducing the V6s, a lot of things have become very expensive, the engines as well, and that's why teams haven't really survived. Now, hopefully, if they can actually make the cars louder, more powerful, but cheaper to make, we could then see more teams and more people interested in maybe producing an engine or even a team into Formula 1, because as you probably know by now, Audi and Volkswagen, who are obviously German connections, have been to the meeting about obviously these engines, and that is good, because obviously Audi dropped out of endurance racing in 2016, and obviously there was a massive rumour going about that they were going to enter in Formula 1, but everyone at the time was like, why would they? It's the costs are too high. Obviously the money doesn't get distributed fair enough. But now with Liberty Media coming in, obviously I think things are actually looking up. Volkswagen as well, you know, the German side of cars is very good, very reliable, isn't it? Very powerful, very fast. So hopefully Volkswagen and Audi can actually come into Formula 1, maybe as an engine supplier, because they did send some engine representatives to this meeting, which obviously boosted some fans' prospects. Going, oh, you know, we could actually see some car manufacturers back into Formula 1. But let's hope that it actually make a better engine than the Honda, because quite frankly, you know, that could be. I mean, then again, on the subject of that, McLaren Audi, how good would that be? McLaren Volkswagen. I would be quite happy with that. And also improving the sound of the power units. Again, that is key because we've obviously just mentioned that about the sounds, because how the cars sound now isn't really pretty. It's just more like a lawnmower. It's just what even is that? You know, we want the scream and you know, that's how a car should sound. That's how a racing car should sound. This is Formula One. You can't get any higher than Formula One. So let's go crazy. Let's go mental about it. Let's just like make the cars with loads of like, you know, rocket launchers and everything big, loud as you can. You know, and just send them on V12s and power them to like 2,500 brake horsepower or something like
Louder
that.
than Nicky
Let's
Lauda.
go mental. Exactly, Nicky Lauda engines, as I say, you know. But obviously, when you're in such a sport as Formula One, as this high, as you know, as a high stature of Formula One, money can get very tight because we've seen like things such as refueling leave us because of cost and stuff. Again, V6s going down from V8s because, you know, they were cheaper and everything apparently. But obviously, when you have this V6 engine coming in, you have a lot more things to add to that, obviously to make your car adapt around these. Obviously the new rules and regulations again, which obviously costs money. So hopefully money can be dropped from this. And also as well, a desire to allow drivers to drive harder at all times, because, you know, it's Formula One. These drivers need to push their car to the absolute limits, like what we've seen in the early 80s, especially with Ayrton Senna in the Lotus. You know, when you see the car dancing on a straight, no, you can't even do that anymore because, again, of tyre wear, for fuel wear, for aerodynamics as well. It's all about that right now. So obviously, we want the drivers to go back to what they used to be, drive on the absolute limit, loads of overtake, loads of crashes, obviously safely, and just bring back the pure joy of racing again, and get more fans in, the younger generation of Formula One fans, and, you know, get and share them and get them to love the sport as much as we love it. So again, like I'm very happy about this. I'm liking the sound of these new engines. Not well, you know, I mean that in many different ways, but obviously I haven't heard them yet. But yes, I am liking the ideas that the FIA are throwing at this. And also, Max Verstappen did say in his press conference on Thursday that obviously the noise of the Formula One cars is key, because he was asked something about that. What would you change about Formula One? What would you bring back? You know, from a question from of a reporter. And he said the noise of the engines, because it makes the car look better. You know, the cars are going faster. However, obviously the noise doesn't really make the car look like it's going that fast. But obviously, if you put like a V12 or V10 noise, it fits basically. It all adds up. It looks very, very good, very, very aggressive, like how it should be. So again, I think we all agree on Max Verstappen's side. So Lyle, let's get your thoughts on this, because we need to go back to the olden days of Formula One. Obviously, make the cars look very futuristic, because obviously technology is changing at all times. But again, we need these teams to go for broke, basically. Not worry about finances, not worry about, you know, fuel and tyres and whatever. We need these drivers and teams just to go, let's just throw everything at it, because I want to beat Mercedes, I want to beat, you know, our rivals in the tables. So what's your take on this?
Well, I mean, it's great that the FIA are definitely looking ahead more than behind themselves, because obviously last season and things like that, they weren't making any improvements in Formula One. And just when you mentioned the sound of the engines, obviously that means I've got to bring back the story of Australia 2014, right? Come on, I mean, this is probably one of the worst races I've ever seen in my whole life. Basically, okay, so obviously it's an early race here in the UK. Got up, you know, something like 5 in the morning, ready to go. Obviously, we'd just finished. Obviously, the most recent race was a Brazil 2013. Obviously, Sebastian just finished 9 in a row. All that action, loud engines. So then we came into this winter test, and obviously it was a bit gloomy. But then you thought they'll just change that, and you never really take it seriously because it's not. You know, Australia is, you know, the first race of the season. Anyway, so I got up. And then David Croft, obviously the pundit for Sky Sports F1, said the fire lights are out, and then away they went. And if you think in 2013, they roared away in the nice big V8 engines, and obviously in the old days V10s and V12s as well, obviously the roar would have been unbelievable. And then these were just like little crappy lawnmowers just going down the first corner. And obviously big things in 2014. Well, I mean, I remember watching a Martin Brundle interview afterwards. Bigger things, he was saying that one. The pit whistles, that was the worst one. I'm starting with that one. The pit, so basically when you come into the pit, obviously your whistle's blown just by a guy, you know, for safety. Make sure that everyone's out the way with, because obviously we've seen almost close calls with just personnel and things like that. So you could hear the pit whistle over it. When I say whistle, I mean like a little like a football whistle, you know, just little like a you know, like that.
Brilliant impression. Brilliant impression.
The second one is the crowd. You could hear the crowd over the engines, and now you kind of tiny little bit. sometimes, but that one you could even, because obviously they were cheering for Daniel Ricciardo as well. Podium obviously at that time, it wasn't at the end, but you could hear they were cheering, and you could hear that there was a bit on the morning when on the Saturday when obviously he got pole position just by a little bit. And as soon as he crossed the line, the cheers meant took over everywhere. And you were thinking, "Are you joking?" Over the engines, and obviously the third one was the wheel guns and the tyres squealing. I mean, you can kind of still hear that, but we've got over that a bit. But that was ridiculous, and it changed so much for Malaysia, which I was happy with Bernie Ecclestone at that point. Obviously, he opened his ears so much to listen to the fans. Just one thing on the speed of the car and things like that, we are actually faster than the V12 eras. The onboard cameras that they do now show how fast the cars are, about at least 4-5 seconds faster. The straights, not really, but the corners are fly round.
The corner speeds, yeah.
But obviously, Jordan, the biggest thing that you said was obviously the noise, and that is completely right. I think Formula 1, the Pinnacle, it just has an aggressive look to it, and you cannot have these nice, quiet sounding engines. It has to be V6, which you've said, obviously very bassy as well, but if they open it up, more exhaust, over 1,000 horsepower as well.
Yeah, 1,200 brake horsepower.
1,200, which is, that's immense. Because I remember that was very olden days. Now Formula 1, after that,
I'm sure that was the same. I'm sure that was the same speed as McLaren. As Ayrton Senna's MP44.
Yes, they were
back in 1988. 1,200 brake horsepower.
Yeah.
So
they were absolutely
I would love to have that back.
Now it's around 750, things like that. But yeah, that would be unbelievable. The noise needs to improve. They just need to look like more fierce cars and more stronger cars. And the drivers then they'll have drivers will actually want to drive these cars, want to push. And obviously, Max Verstappen, he does want to change everything. But it'd be great to see. I mean, the speed is great. Everyone agrees with that. I'm agreeing with it now. I'm saying that the speed is great. I'm very happy with what Formula 1 is. I think we are fast enough. Obviously, we are. I know we could get a bit faster. I'd love that. Obviously, I'm not saying that we shouldn't. But the speed is great. Yeah. The cornering speed is fantastic. That's probably the only thing I'm 100% yep, that's fine after winter testing. Yeah. But the cars, to get louder, it would just make it look absolutely amazing, just for them just to look, more, as we say, more aggressive, more like they're actually Formula 1, the Pinnacle. Because one of the funny things when Jordan said, what's higher than Formula 1, roll back the clock to 2015 and 2016, I had an answer to that. Do you know what that was? Formula 2. Or GP2 as it was called, because it actually was DRS, V8 engines. That was the pinnacle. It actually was. Do you know what it actually was? But now there actually are. There's also other improvements that they're making, like we discussed DRS in the other episode. That might be getting rid of that. Just changing things, listening to the fans. That is a massive thing that we've discussed today. Listening to the fans. Make sure that we get that nailed. That would be great. So obviously, Jordan, we'll have 2020, 2021, 2021 comes around. We'll have great. The speed will be unbelievable. The cornering speed will be fantastic, like it is now. I mean, they might make minor improvements till then, but we'll have really loud, really bassy engines where you'll need earplugs back. Just one quick thing before I hand back. When we went to, I think it was 2014 again. I think it was Martin Brundle. We have a very good relationship, me and him. MB.
I can tell.
And again, he said that he'd heard from fans that when you go to races, you don't even need earplugs anymore. You know what? There was at Silverstone. John, just quickly, we didn't use earplugs, did we, for Silverstone?
We didn't. No.
I was going to say we
actually didn't. Well, actually, I never used it even in the GP2 races. They were loud. Don't get me wrong. They were very loud.
No, we didn't. You're right, we didn't.
But I did a little bit of a test with myself, and I thought, okay, I'm going to watch the start, and I'm going to listen. Obviously, when all 20 cars are there, revving the engines, I want to say, right, let's see how loud this is. And if I can cope with this, I can definitely cope with the Formula 1. And we did.
Yep.
So
no, yeah, you're right. God, we didn't. I mean, they were giving them out. Obviously, they were making sure that they were.
I've got five or six. I took 5 or 6 packets with it, and then we didn't even use one.
But obviously, when we went to 2010s and now when I went to 2013s, we did use earplugs all the time. Because obviously you needed to at that point. But yeah, God, I just got a thing. I don't know, I've never actually thought of that until now. We didn't actually use earplugs when we went to Silverstone, which is just unbelievable. We need to. When you first heard, John, that you didn't need earplugs, did that kind of put you off? Where you're like, that's a thing. Formula 1 needs to be ear piercing, where you do need earplugs in. You know what I mean?
It's like the modern day image now. It's obviously headphones in. It's it's a very symbolic thing. Like with motor racing, that should be like a bit of a sort of a trend. Having like your earbuds in or whatever to try and block out the noise. But on the subject of the noise, just there, obviously when Lyle mentioned about the noise of the engines, I had a bit of a vision there of of America. Now, obviously, you're probably like, what, America? What the hell? What do you mean by that? When you look at NASCAR, obviously the engines are monstrous, aren't they, Lyle?
Yeah.
And IndyCar, whatever that is. The engines are loud, and they're very loud. You know, it's a very boring sport, go around in one big circle. But at the end of the day, that's what the Americans want. They like boring things. No offense to any Americans that are watching this video. And when they obviously when F1 circus comes into Austin, and obviously someone will go, oh, Formula One, you know, it's another type of racing. Let's go have a watch. You know, going down there. Okay, right. Let me see it. Oh, look, here's FP1. What's that? Oh my god! Oh dear! What is that noise? That is actually pretty embarrassing to think. It's like, oh, I can't look at them cars. Yeah, like drinking their cokes or whatever. Yeah, man, and I can't do it.
Bud Light in America. Bud Light and Stetsons.
What the hell is that? It's like, come on, man! Like, what the hell?
You know, come on.
So I had a bit of a weird vision there, but
that's weird.
But not only for the Americans, just for anywhere else who haven't watched Formula One before.
Yeah.
Like where, like in a country where like F1 isn't really that popular anymore. Like South Africa, we used to go there. We don't anymore. You know, just that's just a random place. You know,
just random.
And they'll be like, oh, Formula One. I remember Formula One back in the day.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, oh my god, my Hoover's louder than that. And that's embarrassing.
It actually is. It's lawnmower style, but no, they need to get louder. It would just be really good. I just remember Australia, and the change from Australia to Malaysia was definitely noticeable. I think now we just need to get louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. Just get back to the olden days when the screaming, we loved that. You know, we absolutely loved that. The noise of like the Ferrari going down the main straight, you know, Italy and places like that, Silverstone, just the iconic, and then Michael Schumacher would be in a car that would be screaming away. You know, the noise would be like mad. There's actually, do you know what? There's actually videos on YouTube of like people at work on a Sunday, and they've got their phone sticking out of the window. Like, you know, probably a few miles away from Brackley, or a few miles away from obviously wherever the race is. Brackley, why did I say Brackley? Silverstone, I meant to say. Well, it could be Brackley, actually. You know, it could be.
It could, I suppose.
Probably a bit too far, actually. But you know what I mean? Like, close to the race. And they can actually hear that noise, like, outside. You know, actually outside the ground.
Absolute craziness.
It is great, but no, that's what we definitely need to see. Obviously, stick with us to find out if that happens and what happens with these engines as well. But the bigger thing, though, that we just said is obviously the fans are being listened to, and basically the FIA is taking notice of the fans, which obviously is very important. And we're changing things in Formula One. But to be honest, as I just said as well, about a year and a half ago, we weren't making any changes. Obviously, I know things were different at that point. Obviously, the FOM, like the safety board, was stepping into Formula One. We know why, but it's now good that we're moving forward in those kind of things, because Formula One is the best. Make Formula One great again. That's what the slogan is, really, that they're bringing back. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching this episode 47, obviously not far away from episode 50, which is a big one. Or it will be. And obviously Chinese Grand Prix this weekend. We hope you have enjoyed the last 2 days. We hope you enjoyed the race day tomorrow. It's another early start for us. It's one of the last for a big gap. I think after today, I think the next one, early one, would be about, was it Malaysia, something like that? Japan, something like that?
It'll be Malaysia, I think.
Malaysia,
so, because Bahrain and Russia is like afternoon time for the UK. Then obviously you've got the European races.
Yep.
And then Canada's late, so.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's not too bad. Yeah, I like the early ones though. You know, we like the.
I love the early races.
It makes you feel like a proper Formula One fan getting up at that time. Anyway, but obviously, thank you very much for watching this episode. Make sure to check out the GP preview show round 2, which was China, which came out a few days ago, which obviously we talked about the big race in the Far East. Make sure that you stay with us for episode 48 next week, into Bahrain, into Russia, and into the rest of the 2017 season. If you're new, make sure to like and subscribe the videos, and until next time, see you later.
See you later, guys.